Today, we're talking about Snow White and the Seven Dwarves and the major controversy that this new 2024 film is having with everybody. We're going to be talking about everything from Rachel Zegler's bad PR speeches to the fact that the dwarves are no longer in this film. We're going to go in depth with viewing clips of Zegler's actions as well as viewing clips from dwarf actors, both Peter Dinklage and David Postal, talking about their feelings on the situation. And I'm going to give my own personal opinion just as a fan of movies in general, and more so, Snow White and the Seven Dwarves, very much so. It was a classic. I loved it. It was a childhood classic to me. So, let's go ahead and get this started with the biggest issue. All right? The biggest issue with Snow White is the actress, okay? Rachel Zegler is acting like she's better than the 1937 film, okay? Now, if you don't believe me, believe the way she speaks because she talks to people like they are stupid. It's like she's trying to rewrite what happened in the original film, and I'm going to show you in clips. Don't worry about that. But I just want to point out really quick just some of the issues, okay? So right now, all right. She's saying that this new film is going to be superior to the 1937 classic animated film. Doubtful. But she's saying that she doesn't need a prince. Snow White doesn't need a prince, okay? Snow White didn't need a prince the first time. Snow White wanted the prince the first time. Okay? That's the issue. Snow White didn't need the prince the first time. She wanted him. Okay? She wouldn't have gone with him at the end of the movie if she didn't want to be with him. The prince could have kissed her awake and she could have gone, "Hey, thanks for waking me up. Get the hell out of here. I want to live with the dwarves because they are cool." All right? That's what I would have said. But nonetheless, she says that Snow White is strong and independent in this film, much unlike the original. She also states that the prince is a stalker in the original movie, when in reality, he's barely in it. She also states that on camera, that the new actor in this live action film to play the prince is great, but they may just as well cut all of his scenes because he isn't necessary, which that's crazy to me, okay? So that's just like, I feel like that's like low key. It's not defamation, but it might as well be. It's like, you're an incredible actor, but the role that you went out for and it has existed since 1937, and you were told that you'd be great in this play. No, you suck, and you don't deserve it. Your scenes are gonna get cut anyway. Like, I don't know. She acts like she's too good, and she's not. Rachel Zegler, where were you before this film? West Side Story, the remake, remake. Guess what? West Side Story tanked. Snow White probably gonna tank because everybody seems pissed about this movie. But anyways, let's go ahead and start showing some clips of the way Rachel Zegler talked. And I just want to see what you guys think in the comments to this. Am I taking this over the top? I feel like I'm being completely fair. This 1937 film is a classic by all rights, and everybody loves it. Nobody had an issue with Snow White and the Seven Dwarves until Rachel Zegler shows up, and she's talking all this awful stuff about characters we love. So let's take a look. All right, guys, so we got ourselves up on the screen here, and this is just on YouTube, if you guys really want to watch this on YouTube. But I'll leave a link to the video that I'm watching. It's from an Australian talk show, but this is just showing a video that came about of Rachel Zegler talking about the prince being a stalker. So here we go.
I mean, the original cartoon came out in
What does that mean? Very evidently so. Actually, I just watched Snow White and the Seven Dwarves yesterday. It looks incredible. I'm sorry, but the artwork of that film does not look at all dated. It looks wonderful. Secondly, the story is still fantastic. I just wanted to point that out. Weird, weird. We didn't do that this time. They didn't do it the first time. The issue with Rachel Zegler is clearly she is getting confused and Snow White and the Huntsman. Snow White and the Huntsman was a movie that I don't even know who made it. Was it Warner Brothers? I don't even know. And I don't even care. All right? I don't even care who made that. The issue is she's getting them confused. Snow White and the Seven Dwarves, the prince shows up for literally 5 minutes in the beginning of the movie. He hears her singing a song at a wishing well and then sings to her because she's wishing for the one she loves. And then there he is. Oh my gosh. And then he sings to her. And she's like, oh my goodness. And she falls in love with him. Okay? And then, later in the film, everything happens. She ends up biting the apple. Oh no! The prince, who had heard of Snow White's passing, shows up at her funeral that the dwarves actually, it wasn't even a funeral. They kept her in a glass case because even in her death, she was that beautiful. And he shows up, and yes, he leaves a kiss on the lips of the girl he had believed he loved. And she wakes up. That is all the prince does in this entire film, okay? The prince screams of good energy, first off, in my opinion. One, he shows up and woos this girl, okay? And then after, finally, all this time, he finds out, the evil queen banished her, all this and that, and finally he hears word of where she's at and what has happened and shows up there to give her one last, parting gift of a kiss goodbye. Like, what else do you want from the guy? All right? He didn't stalk her. He did not stalk Snow White. I just think that Rachel Zegler doesn't know what she's talking about. I think my biggest issue with Zegler is her mockery towards the original movie just in general. It's not even that she's mocking the prince, but it's that she's mocking Snow White. Like, she's mocking the Disney princess. I don't care who you are or what you think, all right? Princess Belle, Rapunzel, Elsa and Anna, Tiana, who else is there? There's a bunch. Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty, Ariel. None of them would exist in the Disney world without Snow White. Snow White is not only the first feature-length Disney animated film, but it is the first ever in the history of the world's first ever feature-length animated film. Everyone told Walt Disney he was crazy for doing what he did. Everyone said it would not work. And he made it work, and still, all these years later, it works. And this girl runs her mouth talking bad on what might just be the greatest classic in millions of people's minds. She doesn't, clearly it seems as if she doesn't deserve the role of Snow White, okay? I don't care. If you're a stuck-up piece of, dare I say, shit, you shouldn't be a Disney princess. Disney princesses are known for having warm hearts and being loving in nature. That's what's strong about them. There's nothing stronger than being full of love and kindness. It's easy to be a jerk. Rachel Zegler proves it in this video. Okay? Shitting on not only the prince in the original film, but the original film itself. Okay? Now, I want to talk about Snow White in this original movie because Snow White is implied by Zegler as weak and that she needed the prince, when in fact, Snow White outran a hunter who was put on her to kill her, okay? By her own mother. Now imagine a teenage girl, okay? Imagine being a teenager. Not even teenage girl, but teenager, because the girl part doesn't even matter. Imagine being a teenager and having your mother put a hit out on you to kill you and have your heart brought back as proof of death. Snow White avoided being killed, okay? She then ran through terrifying woods. Imagine being a teenager lost in the woods. Imagine for a moment just how scary that is. Adults get lost in the woods and die. This is a teenage girl, okay? Let's not forget that. She is then helped by the animals. It's a Disney movie, okay? She was helped by the Disney creatures. It's beautiful, okay? All right. She comes across a cottage, and she says, you know what? This is my best chance at being able to take a rest. I got to figure out what's going on with my life. So she goes in, and she falls asleep, and all of a sudden, she comes across the 7 dwarves, okay? She basically told them, listen, all right? And I'm not even saying basically. This is definitely what she said. She had to earn her stay, okay? I watched the movie yesterday. You can't tell me I'm wrong, okay? She said she'll earn her keep by making food such as apple dumplings and gooseberry pie. And at that moment, all the dwarves are, and gooseberry pie, all excited, except Grumpy. All right? But she says she'll earn her keep and she'll clean and she'll cook. She decides she wants to do that. To earn her keep in these 7 men's home, okay? This is their house that she barged in on, okay? She said, listen, I know that I barged in here and that's on me and I apologize, but I need somewhere to stay. Please, I'll earn my keep by helping you guys out. And she does. There's nothing weak about being a responsible person and being a part of a family type of situation, okay? Everyone does their job, all right? People, in your household, do you do nothing, okay? Or do you do the laundry or put the dishes away or cut the grass or, you know what I mean? Take the trash out. We have our place in our household. And that was just what she wanted to do. She could have said, oh, well, I could go out and catch some deer if you want me to go and hunt for some food for yous. But she said, let me make you guys some food. Let's make a deal with this. So it was her idea, and they were more than happy to help, except for Grumpy. But, that's all part of his character development. Because by the end of this film, Snow White has, like I said, run away from a hunter who was sent on her to kill her, made it through terrifying woods to survive, all right? Found a home owned by 7 dwarves that she then became friends with, family with even. And she not only cleaned and cooked for them, okay, but she taught them. She taught them to be clean, and she taught them to have fun and dance and sing and have a good time. She taught the 7 dwarves how to love. In the beginning of the movie, Grumpy hated Snow White. He wanted nothing to do with her, And by the end of this movie, Grumpy was crying because of what had happened to Snow White. That is because the love Snow White gave was so strong that all 7 of the dwarves were emotionally destroyed. One of the hardest things to do in life is find people to love you, okay? There were 7 people that not only were there for her in the end and were her friends, but they chased down the evil queen, okay? They were all there for her. And it wasn't even just the dwarves. It was all of the woodland creatures. So she's strong in that fashion too. She made so many friends in a world where it's so easy to create enemies. Like I said earlier, Disney princesses' strengths were to be kind and loving towards everyone, because that is a very, very hard thing to do. Other than everything with Rachel Zegler with this film, and it is a lot with her, her attitude is awful. She has made Disney look terrible. But other than that, there is another massive issue with this Snow White film, and that is the lack thereof the 7 dwarves. Okay? There are not 7 dwarves. Where are they all? Where are my 7 dwarves? Where is Happy? Where is Doc? Where is Grumpy? Grumpy's there. Where is Dopey? Where is Sleepy, Sneezy, and Bashful? The only one in this movie is Grumpy, okay? The other 6 spots have been filled by fully grown men, and the other, a fully grown woman. What the hell is going on at Disney to make them think that one of the greatest roles of all time, the 7 dwarves, should not exist in live action world? In what universe do I now want to go and see Snow White and the 7 dwarves? In what universe? I personally, and I'm going to get real with you guys, all right? I personally grew up loving Snow White and the 7 dwarves, okay? I was born in 1999. That's a long time away from 1937 when it originally came out, okay? But when I was a little boy, my grandmother, she had every Disney movie on VHS tape, and I loved that about her. So I would go up to her house, and I would spend the night watching movies. I would watch Mary Poppins, and a Goofy movie, and Oliver and Company, and everything under the sun. A Muppets Christmas Carol was one of my favorites, but another favorite that to this day has been a classic in my heart is Snow White and the 7 Dwarves. And if that's not enough proof, guys, the Snow White and the 7, or no, not even Snow White, the 7 Dwarves have been behind me in this video this entire time. They're on my shelf. That shelf back there is full of things from my youth and just my life in general that I love. Yes, it is. From the 7 Dwarves to my old WWE action figures when I was a little kid, to SpongeBob and Patrick figures, to the binoculars from Toy Story. It's got everything. And Eagles football. It's awesome. We've got my favorite books, my favorite movies on VHS tape. It is literally me as a person on those 3 shelves. And the Snow White 7 Dwarves made that cut. Okay? So for someone like me, and there are a lot of people like me, who watched this movie and loved the 7 Dwarves, now have zero interest in seeing this new film. You got rid of every character I loved other than Snow White. And I guess Grumpy's there too. But is he gonna actually be Grumpy? Who knows? Like, really, it's ridiculous. Like, I have 6 less reasons to watch this film. I really do. It's just upsetting. to everyone involved. It's not the right play to not have the 7 dwarves. But if you don't take my word for it, I'm going to show a video here of dwarf actor David Postal talking about it. He's on a show with Piers Morgan, and there is in this clip another man who's arguing the point. But I just want to share a very specific quote with you guys. It's actually in response to another man, Peter Dinklage, who is another dwarf actor. So actually, I'm going to play the Peter Dinklage one first. I'm sorry, I'm getting a little ahead of myself. I want to play the Peter Dinklage. It's an audio clip, but there's also video, I guess. But I want to show you both of them because it kind of gives perspective as to why Disney got rid of the dwarf characters. But Dave Postal argues Peter Dinklage isn't the guy that like rules the acting community for dwarves. And I agree. I agree with Dave on that. So let's go ahead and watch both of these clips. All right, guys. So this is the audio clip of Peter Dinklage. He was on a podcast. I don't remember which one, but this was about a year ago when Snow White was first announced. So let's go ahead and listen to this.
There's a lot of hypocrisy going on, I gotta say, from being somebody.
Sorry, that's my cell phone going off. Let me throw that bad boy on mute just real quick, okay? Let me just do that because I'm an asshole and forgot. All right, there we go.
A little bit unique, front row seat to some.
Really? Like what? Like what do you see?
Well, it's really progressive to cast literally no offense to anything, but I was a little taken back by the they're very proud to cast a Latino actress as Snow White.
Yeah.
But you're still telling the story of Snow White.
Yeah.
7 dwarves.
Sure.
So, take a step back and look at what you're doing there.
Yeah.
That makes no sense to me.
But
You're progressive in one way, but you're still making that backward story of 7 dwarves living in a cave. What the are you doing, man? Have I done nothing to advance the cause from my soapbox? I guess I'm not loud enough. I don't know what studio that is, but they were so proud of that, and all love and respect to the actress and to the people who thought they were doing the right thing. But I'm just like, what are you doing?
I don't know who those dudes are at the end, but listen, okay? I just want to point out Peter Dinklage is completely out of line here, okay? Listen, we all have our opinions, okay? I don't want to say that Peter Dinklage doesn't deserve the right to talk about it, because he does, okay? Everyone has the right to talk about everything, and I don't care if you disagree with that. The reason things are talkable about is because we can all talk and talk about them in one way or another, whether it's physically speaking or writing things down, okay? Or even through art, drawings, and paintings. We're all able to talk about things like adults, okay? When people start crying and being fussy, it's childish. Peter Dinklage points out that Disney is ass backwards, basically, because where they're very progressive in casting Rachel Zegler, a Latino actress, they still have the cave-dwelling 7 dwarves. And he says, have I done nothing for for basically the dwarf community in acting? And to that, I want to just say, I have zero issue with Rachel Zegler being of Latino descent. That was never going to be an argument in this video. The people that argue that, yes, I understand skin as white as snow, hence the name Snow White. But realistically, there is no reason to hate her, okay? Because at the end of the day, it was Disney that casted her. There's no reason to hate her because she's Latino. There's all the reason to hate her for being a bitch. But there's no reason to hate her because she's just a person. You can hate her because she's a bitch. But I have no problem with her being casted as Snow White. My issue, though, with what Peter Dinklage says is it's wrong to have the cave-dwelling 7 dwarves. Because, Peter, the dwarves are not cave dwellers. They have a home. They work in the mine. And I'm sorry, Peter, but if you didn't know this, miners, okay, whether they're coal miners or just about any other type of miner, okay, miners are a very, very undervalued job. And for you to just say something awful like cave-dwelling dwarves when that was their job and they enjoyed their job, that's a little rude. That's messed up. They weren't cave dwellers. They had literally a cave dweller is a freaky little fuck that just sits around in their cave and comes out and is just like, ah, you know, they weren't like that. So to call them cave dwellers is ass backwards. Okay. They all had names and they all had their own, personality. That was literally their name. Grumpy was a grump. Dopey was a dope. Happy was always happy. Doc was, he wasn't a doctor, but he stumbled a lot. He stumbled over his words. He's kind of like me, stumble over the words. But they all had their thing. Bashful was bashful, and Snow White plays into that. When she meets them, she goes, "And you must be bashful," and he's over there twisting his beard, and then Grumpy's a little grump, and she goes, "You must be grumpy," She plays into that, and they enjoy it because they're normal friggin' people. They just happen to have dwarfism. There's nothing cave-dwelling about these dudes. If they were cave dwellers, creepy little fucks that live in caves, they wouldn't go and help Snow White at the end of the movie. They'd be like, we fucking told her, and then they'd probably eat her dead carcass because that's what cave dwellers do, all right? Schmeagol was a cave dweller, all right? Gollum, that dude's a cave dweller, Lord of the Rings looking son of a bitch. The 7 dwarves were normal human beings. And that is where Peter Dinklage is incorrect. To say, have I done nothing? Peter, you did so much that this movie, it's not to make, no one's making fun of the 7 dwarves. People love them. And not because they're dwarves, but because for almost 100 years, the 7 dwarves have been a loving group of characters in a loved, family-friendly film. You have to be a dense piece of shit to not realize that. Another thing, he says it's ass backwards for there to be 7 dwarf roles, all right, in this film, when Peter himself has played roles where he was recognized as an angry elf in the Elf film, where he would then blow up on Will Ferrell for continuously calling him an elf, okay? Then he's in roles like Game of Thrones, where for almost a decade he was called an imp, and he was pushed around and made fun of, and yes, one of the most strong and beloved characters in the entire franchise. Peter Dinklage says it's ass backwards for Disney to do this, when in fact, Peter Dinklage, with your roles just like Tyrion Lannister, you have created people, we don't see that you're just a dwarf. That's your own problem, that you can't get over the fact that you can't get past that you have this dwarfism. And that's that. Because plenty of people don't care. They just know, oh, he has dwarfism. Peter Dinklage is an incredible actor, and I take nothing away from him, but I think the way he thinks is completely ass backwards. All right, guys, so this is a clip from a Piers Morgan episode I was talking about earlier in this video with Dylan Postal, another actor with dwarfism. I believe I said Dave earlier, and I'm sorry about that. His name's Dylan Postal, and Dylan is extremely famous. Dare I say, one of the most famous people that I loved growing up. He was a WWE wrestler, WWE superstar, Hornswoggle, for what, a decade? Almost a decade? When I was a child, he was huge in pro wrestling. And he made me laugh. He made me happy. He was a fantastic character. Okay? He was one of the greatest characters in WWE, in my personal opinion. And then he was in films like Leprechaun Origins, which I'm not going to lie, that movie wasn't very good. But it had nothing to do with Dylan at all. That movie was just bad, and I'm sure Dylan may agree. But what is it? Dylan shares his opinions on everything when it comes to Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs and the disappearance of these dwarf roles. So let's go ahead and get into it.
So it's not a progression at all to me. My issue with it is exactly what you said. There are actors, dwarf actors, that that dream to be in a major motion picture such as this Disney remake. And now, because Peter Dinklage said what he said last year, now it's taken away. And it's taken away because of quote unquote progression and all that. And it's not right, because these are roles made for actors of my stature, roles that aren't ever really given. I can't go out for the Harrison Ford or the George Clooney roles, because that's not for me. These dwarf roles are for people of my stature.
Right.
And now it's taken away. I don't feel that's right. And not only that, but now think about the additional stunt actors or body doubles or that. Now you're talking multiple actors of my stature that don't get these major roles. And why? What's the reasoning? Because we're supposed to be progressive and we're supposed to just not view them as that.
Well, you know the
these
irony.
Were heroes.
All
of these dwarves,
yeah.
all of these dwarves took care of Snow White.
Right.
They all had characteristics, separate characteristics. They weren't these cave-dwelling monsters that people speak of. They all had 7 different characteristics for 7 different actors that from my community, and I don't feel it's right that got taken away from us.
And utterly agree with you. And the irony.
So, as you heard, that was Dave Post. Or I keep saying it. I don't know why. That's Dylan Postal. I think it's because I was watching Dave Portnoy videos earlier today. So I have Dave stuck in my head. God love me. I saw a random video of him, and now it's stuck in my head, the name Dave. But that was Dylan Postal talking about his thoughts and whatnot on Snow White and the lack thereof the Seven Dwarves. And you even hear him come at Peter Dinklage just a little bit. He doesn't actually say that Dinklage said it, but we both heard Dinklage say it. And in my opinion, Dylan is absolutely correct. Dylan is 100% correct. I agree with him. There's not at all. In no way do I disagree with what Dylan says. People such as Dylan, who is an actor with dwarfism, they, like he said, they don't get those roles of Harrison Ford or George Clooney. The roles that they can get in Hollywood are extremely limited. Okay? It's not they just can't. They don't get it. They don't get those roles. And so for a major motion picture to call For 7 of them, 7 actors who have dwarfism, that is major. And that is 7 potential new actors that we can have, that we never knew about. And it's being taken away. It's being taken away in the name of progressiveness. There is nothing progressive about that. In my eyes, the 1937 film was more progressive. That's it. That's my opinion. Dylan said it exactly like I said it, and I agree with him entirely. The 7 dwarves were not cave dwellers. They were human beings. They were heroes. And that's that. Basically, at the end of the day, Snow White 2024, it'll probably get made. Okay? It'll probably be made. And listen, just like every other Disney movie that's come out this year, it'll probably flop. I'm sorry, but that's just... Disney has not had a single good movie this year. The only movie that was considered successful was Guardians of the Galaxy 3. And that's more or less Marvel more so than Disney. Okay? Every other movie has just about failed to meet where it should have financially. Disney is down a path where they are going against the majority to appease the few, and it is failing them massively. Now, the issues are very resolvable. Cancel the film. That's it. That's the only way this gets made. All right? That's the only way that this whole thing is put to bed, because Disney, I know you already spent the money, so you might as well put it out to try and get something, but it's better to put this thing to bed and never, ever pick it back up. Rachel Zegler is a hot mess. She is making Snow White seem like a joke. Okay? This is to the point where one of the original creators of Snow White and the Seven Dwarves, I believe it was his son, stated that if his father were alive today, he would be losing his mind hearing what she says, and that him and Walt are both rolling in their graves. And you know what? I completely agree, and so do millions of people around the world who love these characters and love the story and do not want to see something ruined because they can. Now, Disney, if they canceled this film and then decided to make something more approachable, such as Snow White and the Seven Dwarves with a new actress, and I don't care if she's white or not. The people that have an issue with her skin color, I don't care. I don't care. I understand the skin is white as snow, which is why she was named Snow White. But really, I don't give a shit. I don't care. Okay? If she has a kind heart and she has a beautiful voice that can make even animals follow her and like her, that's Snow White. All right? If she's a kind-hearted individual, if children can look at her and smile and see goodness in her, that's Snow White. Okay? If she can be interviewed and not just destroy people's childhoods like Rachel Zegler, that's Snow White. Snow White is just a good person all around. If they replace Zegler with someone else and they bring us, the audience, what we want, which is these 7 dwarves as they were in the original film, this movie will succeed. People will love it. People will love it. But sadly, I don't see Disney doing any of that. So, good luck. Good luck, Disney. That's all I have to say. Because I don't see many people tuning in to love your movie. That's all I have today, guys. I had all that I had to get off my back. because this whole this whole thing it's eating me up, because like I said, I love the original Snow White film. I love movies just in general, and I hate to see things destroyed or desecrated by remakes that just suck. And this is a dumpster fire. The biggest dumpster fire I have ever seen, with an actress that can't keep her composure and a total nerfing of some of the greatest Disney characters of all time. So let me know what you guys think down below about this entire situation. Am I correct in my thought process? Or do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Do you think Peter Dinklage is right? Do you like Zegler as the actress of Snow White, or do you absolutely despise her? Let me know down below in the comment section. Leave a like on the video, and if you're new here, you want to subscribe. I want to make rants like this in the future. I like doing it. It's entertaining for me. But I also make content gaming and doing tier lists and stuff. So just, if you want to subscribe, go ahead and subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for watching.